Hey guys, Dalek44 here. I need no introduction, but I got one anyway. Is there anybody around here who doesn't like Shaun the Sheep?
Seriously guys, is there anybody in the world who does not love Shaun the Sheep? He's become one of Arvin's most popular characters since his debut in Wallace & Gromit: A Close Shave in 1995. In fact, this character became so popular that he eventually got his own TV show in 2007, broadcasting in 180 countries globally. It's no doubt that Shaun the Sheep has become one of Arvin's most popular characters since his first appearance in A Close Shave. And it's really hard to find people in the world who don't like him. Even my older brother loves Shaun the Sheep. It has that much of an impact on people. There were even loads of life-size models of Shaun the Sheep placed around Bristol and London for the Shaun in the City trail, which yours truly has found all 70 of the Bristol ones. Yeah, I searched night and day to find them.
So with his debut appearance in a Wallace & Gromit short, a TV series, Shaun in the City in Bristol and in London, then this was a real surprise for the franchise. Shaun the Sheep, the movie.
Released in 2015, Shaun the Sheep the movie was the very first movie based off of Shaun the Sheep the TV series.
Now wait a minute, Shaun the Sheep had 10-minute episodes based on the farm about Shaun, his flock, the farmer, the dog, and all the other animals on the farm, where there's no dialogue at all. So how can you make an entire movie based on that? Well, let's take a look.
Due to getting sick and tired of the same old routine on every day in the farm, Shaun decides to take a day off and have some fun. But he gets a little more action than he bargained for. Shaun's mischief inadvertently leads to the farmer being taken away from the farm to the big city. And it's up to Shaun, Bitzer, Timmy and the rest of the flock to save their missing farmer, while trying to avoid the nasty animal catcher, a Trumper. And that's the whole plot.
I'll be honest, when this movie was first announced I didn't know what to expect from it. I mean, the trailers did look awesome, but I had been concerned about how this movie was going to work. I mean, were the characters going to have dialogue in it? Were they going to speak? Or was it just going to stick to the original formula that the show had, where no one speaks at all? And then when I went to see the film at the Bristol premiere, it turned out that the characters didn't talk, just like they did in the show. So, how exactly does that work?
Well, like the TV series, this movie follows the same format that the show did, where the characters had no dialogue at all, not even the human characters. But here it's done on a bigger scale. Like, instead of spending all the time in the farm, which most episodes do, here we spend a little bit of time in the farm, but most of the time it's in the big city. And I'm not talking about the big city from Sheep in the Big City. That one was just crazy. And those who know Shaun the Sheep from the TV series as well as the Wallace & Gromit short A Close Shave, then you already know what these characters are like. There's Shaun, the leader of the flock, played by Justin Fletcher.
So Shaun's basically the brains of the flock, who often gets into trouble and doesn't always obey the rules. Kinda like someone we all knew at once in our lifetime.
Even though Shaun's a little bit of a troublemaker, he's still got a good heart and does really appreciate his life on the farm, as well as the farmer. There's Timmy, the youngest of the flock, also voiced by Justin Fletcher, who I kinda see as being like Skippy Squirrel from Animaniacs. You know, where he spends a lot of time with his Aunt Slappy and worships her as a hero. In this show, Timmy does the same as Shaun. He even literally copies a majority of the things Shaun does. And the relationship the two have is kind of like a big brother, little brother relationship, where Shaun looks after Timmy for his mother, and Timmy likes to play with Shaun. And Timmy is the only character in Shaun the Sheep that somehow got his own spin-off show for CBeebies. I don't know, maybe he was popular with the younger kiddies. Maybe Yardman just wanted to please the little kiddies because Timmy was so cute. I don't know. And then there's the farmer, who's quite dim-witted, pretty much like Wallace. But I think he's a slightly dumber version of Wallace. And during the film, the majority of his time is spent having short-term memory loss and becoming a famous barber. Yeah, that's kind of a spoiler for those who haven't seen it, but that's pretty much what he does throughout the film. He does his farming duties, gets lost in the city, gets amnesia, and then believes that he's a barber. And this idea really works because the way he cuts people's hair is very similar to how he would shear the sheep on the farm, which somehow leads to a lot of people loving him and even advertising him on billboards. Then there's his faithful dog, Bitzer, who I would say is an idiotic version of Gromit. I mean, yeah, he's a little bit more brighter than the farmer, but he's still a bit dumb. I mean, like, he's not as intelligent as Shaun, and does often rely on Shaun's help for certain kerfuffles he gets in. But this film really pushes the two's relationship to the limit. Like, after Shaun does something stupid that gets the farmer lost, Bitzer is not so forgiving of it in this film. But as the film goes on, he starts to forgive Shaun a bit more, and they become friends again. And pretty much all the other sheep in the film is basically their normal everyday characters from the show. And all the other characters in the film, like the other sheep, the bull, the goat, and even the nasty pigs, do their jobs in the show. Like, they're basically there just to fulfill their roles in the film. And I honestly think that they get the proper amount of screen time they deserve. As for the new characters, there's Slip, a little dog who has bad teeth problems and just wants to find a home for herself. She even gains a friendship with Shaun. And I don't know if it's just me and my love of romance stories, but I almost think that there was a little bit of a romance between Shaun and Slip. Even though Shaun already had a girlfriend in the TV series who appeared once and then was never seen again, I honestly enjoyed the friendship that Shaun had with Slip. She's very streetwise and knows her way around the city, so knows how to get away from the animal catcher. She's even got her own little hideout where she invites Shaun and the flock to stay. So she's kind of like the street cat, well, street dog in this case, who knows her way around the city and knows how to get out of trouble. Then there's Trumper, the villain of the film. In the city, he's an animal catcher who catches stray animals and brings them to the animal shelter, which he treats as a prison for animals. And the way he presumably treats the animals in the shelter has a really nasty effect on them. I mean, when you look at the animals, you can see that they've been suffering during their time in the animal shelter. And Trumper is a really nasty character who hates all animals and just wants to be appreciated for doing his job, but for some reason doesn't get the attention he feels he deserves.
And I've just realised that Trumper has one thing in common with Mrs. Tweedy and Victor Quartermain from previous Aardman films. All three of them have a hatred for animals.
And there's two scenes in the movie that pretty much sums up his character. When he's listening to the radio in his van, the song that plays on the radio pretty much symbolises that he thinks himself as a hero. And then when he's in his office at the animal shelter, another song that's playing on the radio symbolises that he's bad to the bone. Yeah, that's the name of the song that they use in this. So Trumper's another one of the nasty characters you can add to the villains list. Someone who doesn't exactly have a motivation, but you don't really need to know the motivation just to enjoy the character and to despise him. He's another one of those everyday villains that you don't really like.
Okay, so we got entertaining characters and it's following the same formula for the show, so how exactly does this movie work? Well, surprisingly and to my expectations, it works really, really well.
The way this film works is all through the visual jokes and the movements and the expressions of the characters. Like, when a character is really sad or happy or angry, you can tell that they're really sad, happy or angry.
It's kind of like watching a Wallace and Gromit short, where whenever Gromit's on the screen, you don't have to hear anything he's saying because he can't talk, but his facial expressions say everything. And it works the same way in this film too.
Yeah, whereas like Gromit, where you don't have to hear anything he says to understand how he's feeling, it works the same with the characters in Shaun the Sheep, movie and TV series. Just their facial expressions and the way they move is just enough to tell you what they're feeling, and what you think they might be saying. Another thing that makes this movie work is the visual jokes, and this movie has so many that I could not stop laughing all the way through in the cinema. Especially of a joke where plasticine animated Nip Park watches over two birds and then gets attacked by them when he's discovered. That joke makes me laugh every time. Another joke I really love is when Shaun and Bites are in the animal shelter and they're sitting opposite a dog that gives them this really creepy stare that makes them want to look away from him. That scene always has me on the floor every time I watch it, whether Bites is looking at him or Trumper's looking at him. And I won't give away why this dog's really doing the stare, but trust me when I say the outcome of it is hilarious, as well as watching it all the way through just to see the joke work full circle. And another scene that I really love the most, the one that makes me laugh out loud, is the moment where Trumper gets to the farm after being dragged underneath the trailer, and he just goes completely insane and tries to kill Shaun and his flock. Especially in this moment.
Here's Trumpy.
I mean, all Trumper has to do is keep stray animals off the streets in the city. But instead of just letting Shaun and his flock go, he literally tries to catch them when they're trying to get out of the city. And then when they're out of the city and back at the farm, Trumper still doesn't give up. Christ, that guy is so fucking persistent. And the animation in this movie is just superb. It's Aardman at their best with plasticine animation. The way they've made the farm is pretty much basically in tradition with the show. And I think the big city must be one of the biggest sets they've ever made in Aardman history. I mean, when you look at the size of the city, it looks so much bigger than Totterton Hall from Curse of the Were-Rabbit, or even the chicken farm in Chicken Run. So I honestly think that this is one of the biggest sets that Aardman has made up to date. It really shows that they haven't lost their touch when it comes to plasticine animation, and I'm glad that they decided to use it for this film, since they used it for the show. And it's the animation style that they specialise in.
So, as an animation and Aardman lover, I say that Shaun the Sheep is definitely one of the best films that Aardman has made in a long time, as well as being one of the best animated films of this year.
If you're an Aardman and animation fan, then I definitely guarantee that you're going to love this movie. Even though this movie has absolutely no dialogue in it, it's got great characters, great jokes, great music, great animation, and so many jokes that you just won't stop laughing until the end of the film. It's definitely one of the best animated movies I've seen in 2015. And I would definitely put it up in my top 10 animated movies of all time.
I'm Dalek44, and I'll see you next time, folks.